episode or segment of, I don't know really what this is going to be, but I find it harder and harder for me to find space to talk about, like, less what I'm feeling, more what I'm thinking. And really the problem is that I don't find the time to write, or I don't feel like I have the time to. And these long commutes to beach is a great way to kind of get some of my thoughts out. I'm not going to be worried about them being or sounding intelligent, or worry about my critical thinking skill, or any really academic sort of jumble here. But the goal is just for it to be an outlet for me to get my thoughts out while I'm driving, because usually I just sing along to shit, but I never think that's a very productive use of my time. It's definitely relaxing in many senses, but I don't think it's as productive as something I could be spending these 2 hours combined doing, because I could be, even though I'm maybe sitting at home doing nothing, if I wasn't doing this anyway, I still feel that if I can find a way to make something productive out of this situation, then it is a net positive for me. And I don't know how a lot of people think about speaking out loud, or talking to yourself. A lot of people think it's a sign of insanity to an extreme, or even just not being in the right state of mind in a lot of ways, because I think sociality or sociableness is associated with being normal, and if you're not talking to somebody else, who else do you have to talk to but yourself, yeah? And in that way, that's why I think it's associated with being crazy, just because it's not considered normal. There are crazy people on the road all the time. That's as much as I hate the idea of you becoming a parent, or you becoming one of your parents, you're gonna become your father or whatever, those ideas. There are some aspects of my father that I'd wish to emulate if possible when I'm a grown-up, as you would say. But I just think that idea of losing your identity or losing who you are is so scary, because I think about my worst fears sometimes, and yeah, you have death, torture, just because I know the pain that will come with it. But as I've been thinking about it, I've come to realize that some of my greatest fears are my fear of having my memories wiped. That just seems so scary, more than anything else, because if I'm dead, at least I died being myself. If I have my memories wiped or my personality erased, then I'm just I wouldn't even be a husk. I'd just be a different person, and I wouldn't even know it. That's the crazy part. I wouldn't even know that I don't know it. And that's such a existential fear of mine, because if all I have are my opinions and my thoughts, really. Because I was thinking about, I just read 1984 recently. I finished it for the first time. And the idea, I was introduced to this philosophical idea of solipsism, which is intimation, the idea that the only reality experienced and the only reality that's relevant is the reality experienced through one's own perspective. And in the book, it's used as sort of it's called, the character is O'Brien, and he refers to it very, what's the word? positively, ideally, as collective solipsism. And I think that's more referring to the idea that no longer do you experience the world through just your own perspective, and that's the only thing that's relevant. The collective agreement of the party is what forms your reality, and that's the only thing that's relevant. And O'Brien conveys this idea through the example of, if you think I'm gonna rise like a soap bubble and float and pop in the ceiling, and I think that I'm gonna rise like a soap bubble, and the party wishes it so, then why is there any other reality that proves differently? Because you can make the case that that's true, and there isn't. But, okay, I'm kind of getting off topic here. But Winston, at first, before he's totally broken, he sees through this idea of like subjectiveness, that we're the only ones who determine reality, and collectively, as the party, the mind of the party, and the collective minds of its constituents, that they're the only ones who determine reality, because they're the only ones who live in this like relevant world. Because if no one else is around to believe differently, then there's nothing else. There are a lot of flaws in this, and of course Winston encourages the reader to see realness, and that's really the objective, the rejectiveness of the party's whole mantra. But anyway, what was I talking about first before I got solipsism. So if I collect solipsism, you only see it through your perspective. It's, a lot of people argue it as not really relevant, or not really a good point of argument, because it doesn't quite have an axiom, which is like the starting assumption, because there is no starting assumption. The only reality is through what you see. So there's no assumed realness in the world, which makes it impossible to base any argument off of. But I guess having no axiom is kind of an axiom within itself, you know? But anyway, fears. The fear of forgetting oneself is a really scary one to me, because I lose everything that makes up me. I'm no longer myself. And yet I am, in every sense. I am myself. But I guess if you define yourself by memories, then you're not yourself. Or you are, you wouldn't be yourself. But then again, if you transferred your memories into a different body, would you still be yourself? I don't know. Because I think your body is one of the things that determines your context as a conscious being. So without your body, without those experiences that make up your being, can you really call yourself yourself? So let's say you had all your memories, and then your brain was transferred into a separate body, and then that body assumes all your memories and all your experiences. I don't think it can. Because even if the synapses connect and whatever, your body doesn't match up, because first of all, your body would have no register of committing any of these things that you've done. And secondly, it just wouldn't match up. If a lot of your memories and your character and your beliefs that you've built, let's say it's based off of, I don't know, something really simple, like having a disability that makes you confined to a wheelchair. Let's say that helped develop a lot of the characteristics and memories in your life Anyway, this person just tried to cut me off. What the fuck? Anyway. Let's say that tried to tell a lot of characters in your life. You have these memories now, but they're just kind of irrelevant. So would you start over in a way? Would you base new perspectives off of being a different race, a different sex, something else? How would one deal with the experience of being in a new body with a different one? Would you choose to start over? Would you choose to try to modify your physical appearance to make it go back to what it was? I don't know. Because everyone wants their beliefs to be justified. And if there's no reality, or even no proof of a reality to justify it, then what do you have? You don't really have anything. Maybe in a better world, I don't know, you could maintain the beliefs and character traits you've built up while still trying to get new ones, even like with a new body. You just gain more. You just become more, what's the word? More variable? More depth defined? I don't know what the word is. This is something I've been having trouble with lately. Multiple things actually, but something in particular that I've been having trouble with. The thing that I've been having trouble with is coming up with words. I've had a few theories about this for a while, but even when I know in my head what I mean, and can get the semblance of the thought out, I can't seem to put it into words, even in my own head. It's like my subconscious can form it better than my conscience and my mouth can. It's crazy. But I can't tell if that's because my critical thinking has gotten better or much worse, or maybe I'm not even using the term right. I can't even tell. But oh fuck, my ETA just got cut off, increased by 5 minutes. I'm so mad. Anyway, I've been really self-conscious about saying and stuttering, and even if it takes longer for a better thought, it just seems to me that the measure of my intelligence is how complicated the words I use and how fast I can spit them out, no matter how simple or a thought is, which is really embarrassing to think. But I would much rather have well-developed thoughts in simple words than complex thoughts in simple words. Because I think you can always learn more words. You can always go on thesaurus.com and learn, but coming up with a thought, I think, is what really matters. And in a way, this thing that I'm doing is just kind of a sink for all of these thoughts that I've been having, to kind of spill them out to someone. I have no intention of posting this anywhere. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll just post it anonymously. I'm gonna predict 1 comment from a spam channel, 10 views, 1 dislike that no one can see. That's what I'd predict. If we're assuming YouTube, of course. Social media is such a weird thing. If there's one thing that I've thought about a lot, is my almost excessive self-awareness. it can be a good thing too. And even now, I'm criticizing myself in my own head for saying a trait that I have is good, and also questioning whether I even have the trait to begin with, which is so funny because that directly contradicts itself in terms of self-awareness. And yet I can't seem to get past it. This leads me back to 1984, actually, and the term doublethink. Like, convincing yourself of a totally different reality than convincing yourself you never convinced yourself, and then forgetting that you had to convince yourself of anything. It's really such an interesting concept, and honestly, I wish I had that skill sometimes. I know it's a really bad thing to wish, but I just sometimes want to forget stuff in general. It really sucks. Just thinking. A lot of stuff sucks. But my life is not considered to be one of them. I don't even know what I mean by that. I'm just saying words. Maybe I should do more of just saying words and less about thinking about the words I'm saying. Like, I can't tell if my lack of word choice is due to me having a wider vocabulary and being able to use more words and thus having more to choose from, or if it's more me being so unsure of my own thoughts. Because if I come up with a thought that's simple, I'll just like crush it down in my own head and won't even get close to saying it out loud, which is so interesting. But you have to build on top of thoughts, of course, I think. Let me turn on the air conditioning. Maybe, I hope this is not too loud. We'll see. So, what else did I want to talk about? I don't know. School, friends, social stuff. Okay, I don't know if this is just me, but I feel so bad when I like say anything to a lot of people. Like, it seems that a lot of people I know, even people who I'm friends with, and the comments aren't directed towards me, but they just insult and make fun of people so casually, and it really disturbs me. Because sometimes I do actually, but I always end up apologizing later, usually, unless it's like, either I usually don't see that person, or they're being also an asshole to me. Then I usually don't feel too bad. But some people just say stuff like bullying. I don't understand how people have weekend of consciences, I guess. But that's such also kind of a privileged thing. I hate the word privilege. But I find my sense of elitism really sucks. I wish I could get rid of it without having to live through something that would get rid of it, but that's just more elitism, so there's that. I want to take this sounds bad, but I want to take full advantage of the privilege. I know, it's not only because, other people don't have it, and they're working so hard to get where I am with not even a quarter of the resources. It's more just, I don't like to use the word blessed either, but I've been given all these gifts in various forms in my life, and I want to be able to be something great, do something great with them. And sometimes I think I'm wrong. for wanting that? And I still don't know the answer. Because I could spend my entire life helping others if I really wanted to. Anyone could. But is it wrong that I want to do something great and help in other ways than helping others? I've done a lot of stuff to help people, service and all that, but not really, obviously not systemically, because that's very hard to do. As represented by our current state as a country. You can probably tell where I'm from. It's pretty obvious. But sometimes I feel like I have such a whole perspective on the world and our country and people and what everybody should do, and that I could never be corrupted and that I'm invincible and all that. And maybe that's just teenage things. But then there are times when I feel like I know nothing at all, really. And I look at these people and they know so much more than me, and they're just in their position in life. And I don't know if that's the meaning of life. I don't know. I'm probably not getting to that on the first run. But it's so interesting to think about. Because I don't know what capacity is, what potential is. I guess the poor and the disadvantaged are so focused on surviving that they don't have the privilege to be able to try to fulfill their capacity and their potential. But I don't know, it's so hard to express, and I get this is what the purpose of this is, but I don't know, I'm saying but a lot. There's a lot. These really here's a thesis. The use of but in the speech really illustrates the contradictory nature of the inner thoughts of the narrator. I don't even know the word. Diswillingness to come to a stable state of mind and a state of thought and a closed opinion. I just want to be ever changing, I guess. See, and that's something else. I just said I guess there. So many people, I regret to decide whether I've been influenced by others doing this or if it's my own insecurity. And I suppose that I need a word. Okay, let me come up with a word. I'll get back to it. That disconjunction in those thoughts, that's a good word. The disconjunction in those thoughts really displays the uncertainty of a lot of people and the uncertainty to express their opinions. Because I've never known how the other side thinks. In a lot of ways, I gather my opinions and form a thought, and I really think this is the right opinion. This is the right conclusion. How can anybody else come to a different one? And I really want to know how. I think it's just circumstances and experience. Because I have so little experience. Yeah, I'm so confident in my own conclusions. And I really know nothing. Because if the whole world had to start over again with everyone would form a language, and I think the teachings of the great philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, I think they'd all eventually come up again. And a lot of everyone comes up with their own thoughts in some way or another. And that obviously goes for me as well. So could I come up with these thoughts without all these lessons and teachings that have been so hammered into me? If I just had to live and experience and not be taught, would I come up with some of the stuff I do? Because some themes are so obvious, and we see them all the time. Power corrupts. I just finished Animal Farm today, but power corrupts. When I first finish Animal Farm, as I often do, as I finish a poem or reading prose, or it's the same thing a lot of the time. But anyway, I often think to myself, what is the meaning of this? And I recall the obvious events. I recall why what happened is bad. But sometimes I feel fear, and I feel distrust and anger at myself for not being able to come up with these simple themes. Like, I had to look up what the lesson of Animal Farm was, and that's crazy, because it's a pretty, I'm not gonna say, but it's a pretty simple message to understand. I could come up with authoritarianism is bad, but power corrupts. Are those two embedded in each other? Absolute power corrupts absolutely is something that most high school and college students have heard at some point, I'd imagine, and if they've taken any sort of government or history class and been interested in it. So why couldn't I come up with it? Did I look it up when I was mad at myself after about a minute and I was really curious? Did I not spend enough time? Yeah, I didn't spend enough time, because I think in my mind, when I can't come up with something immediately and be able to articulate it easily, I'm just not smart and I didn't understand it. And deep thought is such an underrated and underrepresented process, because it's go. I'm not really a academic school disliker or anything of that sort. I don't think I've heard all the things about, school trains people to work in factories, and that's what it was meant for. But I think a lot of modern institutions do a lot of good things. Even if it's just connecting people, I think that's a good thing. Because if a lot of people could study independently, probably me, honestly, I would just stay away from people and just think and just get moderately interested in various topics and not really have the rigor of diving into them. Because as much as a lot of people work cubicle jobs eventually, and that's what they will do, and it's not a bad thing, it's the modern day factory. I guess it is a bad thing, but everything will be automated eventually. Anyway, as much as that's not necessarily a good thing, a lot of students are able to pursue these really academic fields because they're introduced to them. If school didn't exist, then no one would go deeper than they had to in math. I saw this video where it was something about the level of math needed for each job, and it was elementary school for cashier, and I just thought, wow. Not that calculus is a joy, but I think it's a necessity for interest, because maybe, I don't know, I I get so mad sometimes that I can't speak through other people's experiences and read their thoughts the same way I'm trying to read my own thoughts by speaking them right now. But I wish the process of seeing something so complicated and then looking back and totally understanding it is something that is a unique joy to math. Just as there are unique joys to most subjects, I would say, because I don't think every single one, I'm probably not going to cover every base. But I think making generalities like I just did, or rather, alright, I'm going to find the word, give me a second. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to find this word. See, I'm going to show that you can find, it's fine to find words in a long time. Anyway. Okay, I came up with two words actually. But like setting conditions before generalities and cautioning and avoiding them and broad is really, it's really bad. I don't know. Because I think it's just the call out. I hate seeing stuff like culture, bro, so much. It's so bad. Because I can say, oh, it's really the call out culture we live in, where people call you out on anything not specific enough. And that's just, and I hear people talk about, oh, you're a snowflake, or you're a racist. And I just, it's like, can't we all just get along, bro? Please? I'm not a pacifist, but please, can we all just get along? I suppose that's what my thought process really comes down to. I don't see why people can just like, wouldn't it be interesting to see if we could create a world without this kind of petty conflict, where even if you have like insulated racism, which pretty much all white people in the United States do, I think, probably, I don't, see, I'm doing it again, but anyway, wouldn't it be interesting to see if we could get past that? But no, you're just going to do something that will die out in your lifetime, and no one will ever know your name. Isn't that crazy? What if, but that, it doesn't have to be significant outside your lifetime. What if we can make something significant within our lifetimes? We could try to do something great. What if we could do something? What if we could do something? Really? Because in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. It will never be anything. No one up to this point in human history, I don't think, has done anything that will make a significant impact on the human race. We are, I don't know, we're a lot more than 2,000 years in. A lot. But for the sake of, we're going by, it's 2024, and so I'm just going to say we're 2,024 years into this kind of human history. So I'm just going to make that assumption, just for the sake of argument. But we have probably like millions of years, I don't know. But if we don't die in nuclear war, then nothing will matter anyway. You think Muhammad, you think Jesus, you think they're going to be remembered after we all die in nuclear war, or after the sun explodes? After a new race is formed in the new universe, and they're infinitely like us and yet infinitely different? You think that's going to matter to them? Of course not. They'll probably have their own, but it's repeating. So why can't we? It's significant relative. This all goes back to solipsism. It's relevant to us. And though it's not based around our soul perspective, it's relevant in our lives. So why don't we do something relevant in our lives? Because if everything dies out after you're dead, because that's the only perspective. I'm not a believer of solipsism, but I don't even know if that's the right word. It probably isn't. It might be though. I don't know. Anyway, even if it's completely relevant, why don't we try to make it relevant? Why don't we see our lives as the expanse of humanity? Why don't we see that as like okay, that's a strength of solipsism. It's like, I'm not going to try to coin a term because it likely already exists, but if we could see our lives as the points of impact, I think everyone would value things a lot more. Because what if every human on earth would only live until you died? What would you try to do? Wouldn't you try to make everyone as happy as possible and just try to make an impact at least? Because authoritarianism, I could try to conquer the world. Wouldn't get far at all, but and that's not an impact either, because I wouldn't get far. And because I am not raised in a society that perpetuates conquerors. But anyway, someone like a president, for example, that's one of the most impactful things you can do, is to be a world leader. For better or for worse. It's usually for worse. Usually. I think if, I don't even know what I've been saying, I just kind of blacked out and thought, but if we could see the world from everyone on Earth's perspective simultaneously, first, our head would explode. I mean, yeah, obviously. Second, it's infinite empathy, really. Because, honestly, I think empathy is one of the most incredible things. Not because it's super important necessarily, it is to a lot of people, but a lot of people have really impactful empathy. And what I mean by that is that when something really impactful happens, they shed tears for them, they alert everyone around them, and when someone doesn't, they just question them, because why wouldn't you feel the same thing I'm feeling? But then when there's a slight annoyance and that person asks them to stop, what happened to the empathy? I've seen that so many times with so many people. Maybe it's just the people that I've been encountering, but this sort of selectively empathy based on amount of impact, I don't know how I feel about it at all. It's just, this is a personal experience I've had. Maybe it's just my lack of empathy, but I'm sorry, I can't feel what you're feeling that someone else is feeling. I'm sorry I can't do that. Because perhaps it's just self-centeredness. But the people I care for, I'd usually know if something happened, I guess. And I notice okay, new word, give me a sec. The word is a synonym for impact, by the way, if you've been using that word too much. Yeah. A fact, that's boring, for sure. I really noticed the effect. I haven't lost many significant people in my life, but I noticed the effect less in the words that the news is conveyed through, and more in the absence of that person. Like, the horror for me is less pop, they're gone, and more over the weeks and months or years or whatever, why aren't they here? It's more of a slow burn melancholy, such a bad way of putting it, but yeah, more of that kind of slow burn melancholy, because it's not bam, because just on that day it's like they left for someone else, they were somewhere else, and they're gonna be back in even a week. They could be gone, and so yeah, they're just gone for a week, but then as that feeling kicks in and it collapses with the realization of what happened in your brain, you're like, yeah, this person's not only gone, but they're gone. They will never, it's not just that they're gone, they'll never be present. It's something so, that's the worst of it. Because there are always slight annoyances when you know people. If I'm being honest, a lot of people have really slight annoyances that really kind of get on my nerves sometimes. But people, okay, I also was learning about this. Everyone who says like brutal honesty only emphasizes negative things. We all know this. That's a lot like how death works in a lot of ways, I feel. And the brutal honesty is more, you notice when someone's gone for a little, you're like, yes, oh, all the negative things that used to peck me with are no longer there, but then you don't notice all the endearing ones until you feel them, they're massive in comparison. And that's a really hard thing. I guess I don't need no fancy words to say that. And I just want having my curiosity fulfilled is, well, I think the meaning of life is just going out and living. I think the meaning of life is bullshit, first of all. It was what I was talking about, like making impact within your own lifetime, but really, everyone has their own meaning. And I don't think your meaning is determined at birth. Because if everyone had the same meaning, why wouldn't we all just work towards that? Because everyone's, happiness and freedom, except if it causes lack of freedom or lack of happiness to someone else. But that's our happiness, so blah blah blah, meaning of life, that's happiness, Sisyphus, absurdism, etc. Just the struggle. What was I going to say? I think that I don't know if finding your people is a good thing. I think finding anti-people is a good thing. I think finding people who can challenge you is fantastic for both. Because if you have a flat earther versus a specialized in earth science and in me, it's like, okay, so who's improved? This is a stupid idea. Okay, so who's improved? Well, the flat earther may be improved in knowledge if they can get past their views, because that is one thing when solipsism doesn't really work out, because even if your truth is true, then, and you see something different, I guess you have to think of whatever, yeah, sure, your truth is true, the earth is flat if you think it that way. But anyway, perhaps the flat earther can come away from ignorance, and maybe the researcher can come more towards the context of that person's life and why they believe that. Because a lot of these people are just, for lack of a better word, trolling. And you can never tell if someone believes what they do. I can't even tell if some of the stuff I'm saying I even believe. So what does that say about me? But it's really hard to tell. And to perfectly understand someone, I think that might be a good goal to have in my life. Because I don't know if it's possible, but I damn well want to try. That's for sure. I've heard to understand someone is to love them, but is the other, or was it the other way around? To love someone is to understand them. Because if I'm just thinking of a random person that I know in my school, and I'm trying to think about if I understood. It doesn't matter. It's not romantic love, guys. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's not romantic love necessarily. If I truly understood them, would I love them? Because if I perfectly understood someone, then presumably I would know them better than they know themselves, because no one perfectly knows themselves. No one. No matter how well people think they do. I don't think anyone understands themselves perfectly. Because perfect self-awareness is such a weird thing. You would understand the cause behind every single action you take. Because so many of our actions and words are unconscious. We don't even know why we do them. So if I knew why someone made every decision they make, no matter how hollow I think the reason is, or shallow, whatever, would I love them? Yeah, probably. I don't know. That's why I think thought experiments are better simple, because the complexity of understanding someone this well is so intricate and detailed that we can't even imagine the thought experiment. I can't imagine, and I'm the one who just said it. It's such a mind warp, because you would be making up not only your thoughts about how they think, but you wouldn't even understand yourself, but you would have thoughts about how they think, but you would have context and experiences behind your own thoughts. That's crazy to think about. Okay, what if there were two people and they both understood each other perfectly? Could they make the perfect person? I don't know how that works. Because each could understand collectively. Each could understand not only the other person's thoughts and context and whatever and experiences that motivate their actions and words, but they could, through each other, understand how their thoughts understand. It'd be an infinite loop, actually, wouldn't it? Because they understand someone else's thoughts perfectly, and the other person perfectly understands why they think that way. No, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it would be a perfect loop. I think we'd just go the two ways. But anyway, maybe it would be. Because constant thought, whatever. Yeah, that's such an interesting thing. But there's no way to, I guess is that what a therapist's job is? No, it isn't. They try to do that for every person, I think. They should be getting paid way more if that's their job. Actually, they get paid a lot, I think. What else? What was I talking about before all this? Anyway, yeah, my curiosity. I just want more things to talk about. I want to be able to expand my thought process to parts I never even thought I could think about, or parts I never even knew it was possible to think about, or never even knew existed. Because how fun would that be? That'd be so fun. just someone telling you something that you've never thought about, and you have to think about it. It's like reading a book. Like, you finish a book, and it's the best book you've ever read, and you just wish you could forget all of it and read it again. When someone tells me something new to think about, that's what it's like for me. And that's really why I like philosophy and that sort of stuff so well. Because people have been around for thousands of years that have thought about this stuff. And a lot of it's recorded, a lot of it's not. Which just means that there's a lot of stuff out there that's recorded that is waiting to be discovered. And there's a lot of stuff out there not recorded that I'd have to discover on my own, or with the help of someone else, with the help of an institution, etc., etc., etc. And I think that's so cool. But I'm not even going into philosophy. I don't know why. I think specialization is important. And I don't know how to specialize in that. Probably do things like this, but on a much more focused scale, and really intensely. There's so much, because there are infinite things I don't know how to do, which are infinite things to think about. Isn't that crazy? Like, I don't know how, I'm driving on a road right now. I don't know how roads are made. I don't know how truck drivers operate. I don't know how turn signals work. I don't know how much people who make the speed limit signs get paid, or how that whole occupation functions. It's crazy. And yet, some things I have the desire to learn about, and some things I don't. And I think that's okay and necessary to accept, because you can't learn about everything. It's impossible with our lifespan. Could an immortal person learn every single skill perfectly? Does the human mind have the capacity to memorize? Because that would include memorizing all languages, all skills, all sports, all maxing out all physical abilities. Yeah, I don't think that's possible for the human mind, just due to storage constraints. But would an immortal have a different mind? Would their mind... Okay, well, it depends how long they live. Okay, let's say you're an immortal. Well, if you've been alive for 1 million years, you wouldn't be an immortal human. You'd be an immortal, like, phytoplankton or some shit. So it's not really helpful. But would you evolve if you were immortal? I guess evolution. Just evolution. I'm trying to forget. Okay, I should know this because I'm in biology right now. But does evolution only come after reproduction? I think it does. Unless you could get mutations. No, it doesn't. Because you need mutations and then natural selection to... You need random mutation, then you need natural selection to favor the ones that have abilities advantageous to their environment, and those reproduce more. So, road truck, I need to go. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I think an immortal human. Well, it depends how long the humans are going to be around for. We could kill each other on nuclear war. We could go as long until... We could go even longer than the sun explodes. We could find a new galaxy. Can we go forever? We could probably go theoretically until... I'm not a big quantum physicist guy. Won't the universe collapse on itself at some point, and then we'll have another Big Bang? That's a theory, probably. But so we could, and even then, if we made it that far, would we have technology to survive a Big Bang? Would we have time travel by then? Because time, Einstein, and time dilation, I think it's called. survive after billions of years? Okay, here's the axiom. Assuming we did survive billions of years until the collapse of the universe, would we have time travel? That's the question. I'ma say no, because I think it's a laws of physics thing that we can't do that. And that was just, well, Einstein's theory of relativity is correct, as we agree now, I think. But it doesn't mean we can achieve any circumstances that would mean anything. And so it's just it's a theory. It doesn't mean it'll help us. I mean, it helps us in our understanding, but not help us in mechanics. It's not gotten. We can theorize all we want, but it doesn't mean it'll help. I've got like 6 minutes left, but I'm also on the highway, so I can't reach over to my phone and turn off. I don't even know how the volume is on this. I'll check it out later. But well, life is so interesting. The whole concept, everything's formed around arbitrary stuff that's also not arbitrary, and everything's meaningless and full of meaning. It's so funny. Well, I feel kind of better about myself in terms of thinking. It feels like I emptied. It's like when you go into your phone and your iPhone storage and you delete half your whatever your files. And but it's usually, isn't it photos usually? It's like photos. I actually have a lot of downloaded music. Oh, and I just missed my exits. Shit. Okay. I'm not that cooked after all. Why did I just say cooked? Okay. Maybe I should talk about how I feel about shortened attention spans. That's such a... I'm getting it too. People use new vocabulary, their new words like riz, cooked, I can't think of the other ones. And everyone uses them, of course. But it also reflects our, whatever, social media, TikTok. Yeah, that's it. TikTok. Oh, Jesus Christ. I have to do a whole... Okay. This is so funny. I'm doing a whole, like a drone shape, where the drones have 4 quad wings, quad rotators. That's the kind of shape I'm doing on the highway, because I missed my exit. So I'm trying to get on the correct exit, which I have now done successfully. Oh, I think this person ahead of me actually did the exact same thing. Okay, why can't we feel this sort of the sense of it's Sometimes I forget how to pronounce words too. It's okay. Camaraderie It's like based off camaraderie? Camaraderie. I think I'm gonna say camaraderie. Anyway, that's the source of camaraderie that I feel with this person right now, because we both missed the same exit. I don't know what this person looks like right now. I don't care. And people will always criticize other people and superficial appearances and all that jazz. But despite how you were raised in your environment, I hope I just want people to be curious enough to move past that. And I'm speaking for myself here too. I know no matter how much I talk about it, there will always be some things I just can't see the other way. And perhaps that person thinks the same way that I do, and that this is simply the correct opinion. I've thought about it for a long time. I've considered all the logical arguments and perspectives. And this is so obviously the right thing. But why can't this guy see it that way? And I think that about a lot of things too. And if people realize, I guess not, I don't want to sound pretentious. Not everyone's interested in being curious about questions and stuff. It's not like I want to be right as much as the next person, but if someone gives me an indefensible, like an argument where I'm left speechless, I guess that's the problem. No arguments will bring people speechless when they're so dug into their own side, even when they're so full of logic and reasoning that you can't defend. You can only go ad hominem. But I've definitely been in that position at some point. I know I'm wrong, so I just ad hominem and I refuse to admit it. It's such a common one. Yeah. What's something hopeful? What's that?